My broadband. End of an era for Eskom. South African has taken its first steps towards a traded electricity market that will give consumers, a choice of power products along with a range of pricing options. Okay? We need to have a choice between power products and we need to have a range of pricing options. However, Eskom is fighting the threat to its monopoly. The National Energy Regulator of South Africa, NERSA, issued energy trading licenses to at least 16 organizations during the past year, including Investec Bank. Investec is in, bro. Grayston, what's up? NERSA approved Investec's license on Thursday, 25th of September 2025, in addition to 3 others: Solar, Tradeco, Solis Energy Trading, and Linked Solar. Link. In addition to these 4 companies, NERSA has awarded trading licenses to Power XM, InPower Trading, Neura Trading, Energy Exchange of South Africa, Envusa Trading, CBI Electric Apollo, and Discovery Green. Other organizations that have received trading licenses include Green Electron Market, Green Coal Power Services, NOA Trading, Lira Energy Trading, Energy Markets. However, while NERSA has continued awarding energy trading licenses, Eskom and the South African Local Government Association have challenged them in the High Court. Wow. Eskom has argued that the necessary governing framework is not yet in place and said competitors will quote-unquote cherry-pick its most valuable customers and lure them away with cheaper tariffs. But that's just pure business. Meanwhile, many municipalities derive a substantial portion of their income from distributing and reselling electricity. Nothing I hate like the municipality, man. Especially the Joburg one. Eskom wants the licenses withdrawn, arguing that they represent a radical and unconsulted policy shift from NERSA that would quote-unquote upend the entire landscape of electricity provision, close quote. Energy and Electricity Minister Dr. Kgosi Ramokgopa has warned that accelerating private participation in South Africa's electricity market at the cost of Eskom's business could hurt the poor. However, Ramokgopa also called on parties to drop the litigation after NERSA expedited establishing the rules framework from a 1-year to a 3-year-month process. Alicia Pienaar, counsel for Cliff Decker Hofmeyer, Vision to Fruition, corporate and commercial practice, says that Eskom's arguments discount several market, legal, and practical considerations. Among them is the Electricity Regulation Amendment Bill, which was passed by Parliament in May last year. His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa soon signed a proclamation, putting it into operation from 1 January 2025. It's on! Thank you, President. Eskom's era of monopoly dominance is over. The very essence of the amended ERA and ongoing process to unbundle Eskom is to establish an open and competitive electricity supply market in which traders, amongst other parties, will play an important role, close quote, said Pienaar. Professor Anton Eberhard, an energy policy investment specialist who helped with the bill, said both houses of parliament passing the legislation was a momentous day for South Africa's power sector. Momentous, Professor. The bill will help unbundle transmission from Eskom and create a market operator that will enable greater competition. Competition matters. And investment in power generation, close quote, said Eberhard. He added that the bill would create a more viable electricity company, invest in protecting the heart of the system, and facilitate more electricity generators. Pienaar said that although ERA has a long provided for trading and associated licensing regime, the market was only truly unlocked with a June 2021 amendment. The amendment lifted the licensing threshold for energy generation projects to 100 megawatts. We need to credit the President for that, which was substantially removed in its entirety in December 2022. Again, we need to thank the President for that, and allowed us, the wheeling guys, to multiple customers. We need to wield the sun energy, sun wheeling force. Open quotes, this resulted in market access to a deep pipeline of private generation capacity and the ability to wheel such energy to private off-takers, close quotes, said Pienaar. Open quotes, the wheeling could be by means of a direct bilateral agreement or through a licensed trader as intermediary. My network's also not fine, Dove. Electricity wheeling is the process of transporting electrical energy from a generator to an end user located in a different area using existing transmission and distribution power networks. Pienaar emphasized that the licensing and operation of independent traders in the South African market is not new, with one of the first trading licenses being granted in 2009. Open quotes, several others were granted in 2022 and 23 with no objections lodged against them, close quotes, she said. Special treatment for Eskom? I think so. Eskom has also argued that given the impact of the license applications, NERSA was required to consult it separately, can you imagine, and prior to the public hearings, and should not have treated it like any other party. However, Pienaar said there do not appear to be any legal grounds for asserting that Eskom should have been afforded different or preferential rights in terms of the consultation process that was undertaken. Thank you, Pienaar. Eskom also argued that its distribution license includes the exclusive right to distribute and supply electricity in its licensed areas of supply. It is argued that its right to supply includes the right to trade. The arguments around the interpretation and scope of supply are quite nuanced and need closer legal analysis and scrutiny, Pienaar stated. However, at the very least, I also haven't had any service. There's something wrong, especially here in Joburg. However, at the very least, there does seem to be failure to interpret the meaning of the term within the context of the distribution license and NERSA rules for licensable distribution areas of supply, especially seeing that it is defined under the ERA to also mean inter alia distribution. Thank you, Broadband. What an interesting read indeed.